as much as I like to stay up for Zeta, I need someone to send me off to bed with a story. And this person said for $20, they're asking us to do a thing, and I just want to be clear that you don't have to ever tell us how much you're putting in any money for at all. You don't even have to donate if you don't want to. If you do donate, get a donor account. That would be really great of you, thank you. But yeah, never feel under any obligation. We're busking to raise money, so just give whatever you feel like, and don't feel like if you could only give a few bucks that's like somehow you're not doing your part. You're doing your part. So will you, anybody, could be Beej and Cameron, but anybody, please tell me a corrupted bedtime story. Take a basic children's story and just, mess it up. And I think we can just kind of, Ben, we could do this like story time.
Sure, like one word story?
No, like how you somebody basically somebody points to move the story along to other people.
Okay.
And we just do that thing where it's like we're changing to you. We could do story die where everyone if you can't come fast enough, then you have to fall off.
I like just story time.
I like story time better. Yeah.
I
think it's more fun. Do we want to have a caller for that, or do we want to just kind of trade off and point at people?
I think having somebody outside of the person telling the story is the best way to do it.
Cool. Would anyone like to volunteer to be the caller for this? You're basically pointing at a person and they have to keep talking until you stop pointing at them. Kelly, okay? The probably best way to do that is sit somewhere where everyone can see you.
I hide myself so
Sure.
There we go.
That sounds great.
Just a tiny bit.
All right, I was looking at what they had for children's stories, and I thought they said Robin Hood.
Ooh.
And they didn't, but
Okay.
I want to do Robin Hood now.
Sure. My knowledge of Robin Hood is so minimal.
Yeah, mine
so
too.
it's going to be even better.
Exactly.
Great. All right, let's do it.
So, Kelly, you can start by pointing at anybody, and they have to start telling the story of Robin Hood.
Let's start with Camp, because he was talking about how he likes his voice.
Dang it. Once upon a time, there was a kingdom with no king, where the king's evil brother had taken over and was doing all kinds of terrible things.
Among them was making people pay way more taxes and exercising noblesse oblige, I guess. I can't really... Okay, but yeah, and he was, let's say, a lion. And everyone really hated this guy. They were all walking, talking animals as well. And so then, back from the Crusades, with a Moorish friend, a foxman showed up. His name was Robin of Locksley.
Robin of Locksley was a fox that confused a lot of kids and set them on a path that may turn into something later in adulthood. He was the best archer in all the land, though.
And he was quickly dispatched by a pirate. This pirate was known as the Dread Pirate Wesley.
The Dread Pirate Wesley obviously was not a fan of the great archer Robin of Locksley.
Oh God.
And so, with the fox dispatched, he decided he would take on the moniker. But because he had done it in sort of a back sort of fashion in the way and dispatched this Robin, he decided to call himself Robin Hood.
Yeah.
But in order to complete the disguise, he had to skin Robin Hood.
It took hours. Have you ever skinned a fox, man? Like, skinning a normal fox is pretty straightforward. It's gonna take you probably about an hour and a half. But an entire 6-foot dude who's got there's all sorts of him all covered in fur. He had to just work at that for a while. Then you have to tan it, and then then you have to size it so you can climb inside it. And he did that because he was like, "This is who I'm going to be. I'm going to pretend to be Robin of Locksley and call myself Robin Hood, and no one's going to find this weird at all."
And thus, this was the creation of the first fursuit. And so, with this, he decided that this evil, prince, or not quite king, but ruler of the land, had to be dispatched. Everybody deserved to have equal, like, pay, and everything should be shared amongst themselves. And so Robin Hood, in his fursuit, wrote out a list of things, and he called it the Merry Men Manifesto.
Chief among them was taking wealth from the rich and powerful and distributing it to the common folk. And there's only one way you can do that, and that's asking very, very nicely.
They decided to start asking nicely around the kingdom, starting very slowly and working their way into bakers and things of that nature. And they moved their way up to get to the corrupt prince. And on their way, they had to pretend to be the fursuit man.
But once they had dispatched the corrupt prince, they realized the task of distributing the wealth among the people was in fact going to require a lot of infrastructure and bureaucracy, which in itself was kind of expensive. Thus, they realized why the evil prince was taxing people so heavily, and it was for social programs that were actually kind of necessary, especially considering the cost of supporting the king's war.
And so because of this, and because their manifesto seemed too hard to really put together, they decided to just sort of say that they were about it, but not really quite understanding what was behind it. And instead just saying, well, this would be a good system, but not actually doing anything about it. So they decided to just rob from the rich and give it to the poor. And the only way that they could do it was because this was olden times and they needed to make a tool. They crafted a thing called a bow and an arrow. And with it, it had this uncanny ability to shoot directly through these large money pouches that always seemed to be like on the side, wrapped around like their belt, and it would always go square through it, and there always happened to be a tree nearby, in which it would then, with this very satisfying noise go twang, and then they could retrieve that bag and divvy it out amongst the people. But along this time, when he was retrieving one of these bags, he caught the eye of a fair maiden.
Ah. And he was like, yo, this is sick. She's so hot. And Robin's like, hey, Maid Marian, we gotta hang out. I know your name because it's written on your name tag that we made everybody wear in the kingdom, so we knew who was gonna be like our friends and who wasn't.
Good save.
Thanks. I'm filling in plot holes. Good. And Maid Marian said, Robin, I don't know. I mean, you're doing your best. Your merry ministers are like running things around here pretty well. But you keep stealing money from people. But I feel like you saved us from the prince, and I'm feeling that's you've done enough. You've done fine. And in fact, and then Maid Marian tore off her whatever it is that they wore back then, clothing, I guess, and revealed that she was a goddess. Sent from above to test Robin to find out whether or not he had what it took. And this was not the real Robin, but he kind of like went along for the race, like, yes, no, I'm definitely not a dread pirate, and definitely Robin. And she's like, this is great. You've done a great job, and in fact, what I'm going to do is I'm going to reward you by letting you wake up and return back to your normal everyday life on Earth. You're no longer living in this another world. And Robin then woke up in the hospital and was like, wow, what a strange dream I've had. The moral of the story
is that Robin Hood is an isekai.
Always was, always has been, always will be.
The end.
All right, challenge complete.
Yeah, challenge complete.
I hope you should be sleeping by now.
You better not have listened to that whole entire thing.
Yeah.
Ah, good. The chat got.